Good evening, everyone. Good evening to all our Dhamma listeners who might be listening to us on our live stream on the Sangakaya YouTube channel. And we will welcome anyone who would join us directly in the Zoom meeting. It is 8 p.m. now, and we are ready to start. I humbly and kindly invite our esteemed teacher, Venerable Bulwala Ratana Siritero, the Chief Abbot of Millava Dhamma Vijayarama in Kurunagala, with gratitude towards the Sangakaya Foundation in allowing us to host this Sutta class in English. So over to you, Reverend Sir. You can start the Sutta class, Reverend Sir. Reverend Sir, can you hear me? Your microphone, it's indicated that your microphone is on. Dear Dhamma listeners, please be patient. I'm trying to get the sound sorted out for our teacher right now. Reverend Sir, can you hear us now? Okay, you should be able to speak now.
Can I hear you?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Let's start the class now.
Yes, please.
Good evening. Today, the sutta I have selected is Ganaka-Mogallana Sutta. It is in Majjhima Nikaya. Papancha Sudani is the commentary for Majjhima Nikaya, but there is no fairly details about the doctrine of the Ganaka-Mogallana Sutta in Papancha Sudani. Anyway, we'll discuss the fact that includes in Ganaka-Mogallana Sutta, Buddha was living in Purvarama. It is called Migara Matupasada. When Buddha was living there in Rajagaha, a Brahmin called Ganaka-Mogallana met the Buddha one day. Ganaka-Mogallana and Buddha exchanged their amiable talks, courteous conversation. After that, Ganaka-Mogallana asked a series of questions from the Buddha. He asked his first series of questions about Migara Matupasada, Purvarami. He says, this Purvarami, Migara Matupasada, in construction this Purvarama, and there is a gradual procedure. It has been built step by step. And the ground was prepared and the plan was there. Architects, they have planned carvings and other things very well as a monastery. And Visakha, he has invested a large amount of money to build this Migara Matupasada Purvarami. There is a gradual progress or gradual process in building this Migara Matupasada. And then Ganaka-Mogallana says, in our Brahmin institutes also, and there is a gradual training, Anupura Siksha, and there is a gradual progress, and there is a gradual ethical code towards to achieve their emancipation. And Ganaka-Mogallana says, when you consider about Arthur, when he trained his students in archery, there is a gradual process, gradual training. As you know, when a teacher trains students in any athletic, any game, there is a procedure, there is a gradual training. Then Ganaka-Mogallana says, we are accounts. So we train our students step by step. First, we train them how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that way. Then we train them to add the figures and divide the figures and multiply the figures. And that way, we train them to be the account. So there is a gradual training process. There is a progress in our teaching. In that way, Ganaka-Mogallana Brahmin asked the Buddha whether there is a gradual training for your disciples in your students to enter Nibbana. That was the question that raised by Ganaka-Mogallana. Then Buddha said, yes, I have Anupura Siksha, Anupura Kriya, Anupura Patipada. To achieve Nibbana, I have Anupura Siksha, that is gradual training, Anupura Kriya, gradual process, and Anupura Siksha, a gradual ethical code to be followed. Then Ganaka-Mogallana asked whether there are disciples that they have achieved Nibbana by following this Anupura Siksha, Anupura Kriya, and Anupura Patipada. Buddha answered, not all the disciples, but some of them. Some of them have achieved Nibbana. Then Ganaka-Mogallana asked, there is Nibbana, there is the Buddha, you, to guide them. There is the Anupura Siksha, Anupura Kriya, and Anupura Patipada, that is, their gradual training. Why they all do not achieve Nibbana? Buddha is there, the party is there, Nibbana is there. Why all can't achieve Nibbana? Then what did the Buddha say? Buddha says, now I am going to ask some questions from you. You can answer as you can. Buddha asked, do you know how to go to Rajagaha city, Rajagaha Nuwara? He said, yes, I know the way. Now suppose one person comes to you and asks the way to Rajagaha. Then you explain him. Now you go ahead and you find this junction and you find this buildings such and such. He guided the person. You give the instructions to go to Rajagaha. Then the person goes to Rajagaha. Again, then other person comes. Other person comes and asks how to go to Rajagaha. Then you explain him. you guide him well, you give instructions how to go to Rajagaha. But he goes to Rajagaha, he start to go to Rajagaha, but he can't go because he used the wrong way. He does not follow the instructions and he can't go to Rajagaha. Now you can understand. One person goes to Rajagaha, other person can't do. Then Buddha asks, what is the reason? Then Ganaka-Mogallana says, one person followed my instructions clearly and he has gone to Rajagaha. Other person, he did not follow my instructions and he couldn't go to Rajagaha. In that way, the Buddha says, in that way, my disciples, some of my disciples, they follow my instructions and they train in Anupura Siksha, in gradual training, and they engage in gradual progress, Anupura Kriya, and they practice the ethical code and they enter Nibbana. Some disciples, they do not follow my instructions and they can't enter Nibbana. So I can't get the person to Nibbana. I am the person to show the way to Nibbana. Tummihi kittang atapta akkataru tathagata. I am the person to show the way towards Nibbana. You have to follow that path. So I can't get the person, I can't keep the person in Nibbana. In that way, the Buddha explained Ganaka-Mogallana. What can you understand this? To achieve Nibbana, the person must engage in gradual training, Anupura Siksha. The person must engage in gradual progress, Anupura Kriya. Person must engage in ethical code, Anupura Pratipada. So these Anupura Siksha, Anupura Kriya, Anupura Pratipada has been included in T-Siksha. You know T-Siksha. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. That is the way towards Nibbana. So in Buddha's teaching, this Anupura Siksha, Anupura Kriya, and Anupura Patipada, gradual training, gradual process, gradual ethical codes. All three have been included in T-Siksha. When person engage in gradual training, Anupura Siksha, he is developing his morality, sila. When he he is in progress. When he engage in process, gradual process, Anupura Kriya, he developed his morality seal. Then when he follow the ethical code, then he can improve his samadhi, concentrations, and wisdom. Sila, samadhi, panya. Then Buddha explained the Ganaka-Mogallana how his disciple engaged in this Anupura Siksha, Anupura Kriya, Anupura Patipada to enter Nibbana. Bhikkhu, first he engaged in Anupura Siksha. That means first he observed 5 precepts as a layman, abstain from killing, stealing, sensual misconduct, lying and taking, intoxicating. In that way, he developed Panchasila. Then he developed Dasasila, Samanera Dasasila. He takes ordained as Samanera and he developed his Dasasila. That is gradual training. He engaged in observing 5 precepts, 10 precepts. In that way, then he extended up to Upasampada Sila, higher ordination. In that way, he developed his Sila in engaging in gradual training. Then in gradual process there, to develop his Sila, he have to do lot of activities there in his monastic life. As a bhikkhu in the monastery, he has to engage in lot of activities, in wholesome activities. By engaging in those wholesome activities, he developed his morality. Then the Buddha says, after developing morality, then the bhikkhu is going to restrain his 5 faculties. What are the 5 faculties? 5 faculties or 6 faculties is eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and his mind. He is going to develop it. That is called in Pali, Indriyesu Guptadharo Hoti. He tried to restrain his faculties in taking objects into his mind. For instance, by looking at figure to his eye, there must be some control. That is called Indriyesu Guptadharo Hoti. You have to shut the doors of the 6 faculties. That means, now consider, there is a house. The door is open. Then anyone can enter into the house. if you close the doors, when you close the doors, everyone can't enter into your house. Only the wanted person, the suitable person that you selected. When person comes and he taps the door, if he is a suitable person that you want, you open the door and the person can get in. In that way, there is a restraint. There must be restraint in our faculties. So when we hear sound through our ear, there must be a restraint. So we have to get the objects that we have to get into our mind must be wholesome objects. Wholesome objects. We shut our doors in our faculties for the unwholesome objects. If we take unwholesome objects, what will happen? There arise unwholesome thoughts and tend to engage in unwholesome activities. So, Indriyesu Guptadaro Hoti. The bhikkhu, he engaged in Sila, Samadhi, Panya. He Indriyesu Guptadaro Hoti. He restrained his faculties, 6 faculties, that means he developed. Then after developed his 6 faculties, next step is Bhojanihi Mattanyutat Hoti. That means when he takes foods, he takes a balanced diet. He does not eat too much. He takes balanced diet with the purpose. He thinks, what is the purpose of taking food? I take food not to do bad things or not to engage in unwholesome activities. We take food to protect our life and to engage in wholesome deeds or to develop our mind towards Nibbana. That is Bhojanihi Mattanyu Tata Hoti. Another thing is, when we take food, we must know about that food. What are the nutrients there in that food? This food is, does this food suit for my body? If you are a patient, you must think of taking food. Is it suit for your disease or sickness? In that way, you have to think of when you take in food. Now, suppose there is a person, he suffers from diabetes, then he must know about this food thoroughly. When he take food, he have to think of how to suit this food to his sickness. In that way, Bhojanihi Mattanyu Tata Hoti. He takes balanced diet. That is good for our health also. Then Jagarayanu yogocha hoti. Then the bhikkhu, daytimes, when he is free, when he walks, he thinks about his spiritual side. He thinks, how far have I developed my morality? How far have I developed my concentrations? How far have I developed my vision towards Vidarsana Bhavana? In that way, by walking slowly, he think of all that things. That is called Jagarayanu Yogi. And when at night, before to go to bed, at night, he has to think of again about his spiritual sides. How far have I developed my spiritual side?
Apologies, dear Dhamma listeners. I just contacted Bulwala Ratana Thero. We lost connection with him because his temple is under a power cut right now. What he had asked me is to wrap up the session and address some of, if you have any questions on what has been discussed, or if you he will address it in the next Sutta class, or if you send these questions on the Google form that you can see on the screen right now, the QR. If you scan the QR code, you will have access to the Google form where you can send in your questions or your requests for future suttas as well. So Ratana Thero will address the conclusion of today's sutta and any questions you may have on today's suttas in either through email or in our next session. And a message from him: if it pleases you, you may make contributions for Dhammadana, and he's shared this account. I think Bante Prashil will also share these details in the relevant social media apps. But there is a relief fund, a community relief fund that is maintained by the Amillava Dhamma Vijayarama Temple in Kurunagala, called Sri Panyasara Dhamma Vijaya Sahana Padanama. And if anybody would be pleased to make a contribution, what you see on the screen are the details, and the secretary for this is also somebody from this specific bank, and I will share the contact details of the secretary. If anybody wishes to have more information, you can call that person. So with that, thank you so much, and much merit to everybody who made some effort and time to listen to another sutta. And this is the end of our 26th Sutta class. We will meet again next week, Friday at same time, probably with the conclusion of today's Sutta and then a new Sutta as well. In the meantime, if you do have any requests for Suttas, please send them through the Google form. So have a good night and much merit to all of you. Unless there is a question that anybody wants to ask, you can unmute your microphone and ask. If not, we will wrap up the session. Oh. Is there a question? Does anybody have a question regarding the Sutta class? Or maybe a message to our Reverend teacher? Okay, in that case, we will conclude the session.